Hey guys, Professor Bill of Comic Book University, and in this week's Spotlighton story, we're going to be talking about Spawn. I know everybody wants to do the origin of Spawn and the first issues of Spawn, the first like 15 issues of Spawn. Dude, I know, they're awesome, but a lot of people have done those. What I haven't seen a whole lot of is the David Hine compilation. Yeah, he was issue 150 to like 186, I think it was. I'm not doing all of those, all right? Come on. I'm a pretty busy guy here. But what I can do is those first 5 or 6 issues or so, all right? So starting from issue 150, going through about issue 154, 155, something to that effect, all right? So let's get talking about who actually did all of this amazing stuff, because this is a huge turn, all right? There's a huge turn for what Spawn actually is. So the first issue, David Hine, Brian Holgan, and Todd McFarlane are the writers. Todd McFarlane takes a little dip, so does Brian Holgan, and David Hine continues the story all throughout. On pencils, Angel Medina works with Philip Tan on just this first issue, 150. All the other issues that we're going to be talking about is just Philip Tan. After that, we got Danny Mackay and Alan Martinez, along with Victor Olzaba and Edgar Taddeo, all 4 of those on inks. After a little while, we would stick around with just Danny Mackay, Alan Martinez, and we would pick up Ryan Wynn and Crime Lab Studios. After that, we got lettering, completely and totally done by Tom Orzechowski. Then we got colors. Colors are done by Brian Haberlin and Andy Troy. And at one point, for 2 or 3 issues, Matt Mila jumps on. So the last thing is to make sure that it's understood that Spawn was undeniably created by Todd McFarlane. Okay, so the the mysterious man of miracles, as it starts in the beginning. Listen, these beginning stories here are crucial. Okay, up until this point, we've had a whole bunch of different people writing for Spawn. We've had some incredible stories coming out. Mosquito bite, that's cute. And it's Spawn. So we've always had kind of just Spawn waxing poetic and talking down to and being really, really holier than thou, in my opinion at least, when it comes to dealing with not just criminals, but demons and things like that. You know, you're just scum, you're this, you're that. David Hine comes along, and mind you, this is for the most part with the blessing of Todd McFarlane, although I have read in some places that McFarlane didn't like what Tony Hine wound up doing after a certain point. The story is not complete. Even with, the final issue, it is not complete. And it almost feels like, and several people on Reddit and the such have been talking about it, that it feels like Spawn is actually trying to undo what Hine has done. I feel like that's a shame. I'm certain that's a shame, but I also feel as though this is not the best way to do things. Anyway, all of these beginning stories are important. They're crucial for understanding what's happening in these stories. So here, Hine is going to change the story. He's going to change the entire tempo for Spawn almost completely on its heels. All right? We recognize that Spawn is starting to realize that, yeah, he is himself a sinner. How much trash could he really talk to other sinners or demons who tempt, when everybody's just doing what's in their natures, and that includes the hosts of heaven. Spawn is starting to realize something past good and evil. He's starting to realize that there's really no such thing. This is kind of Siberian in its mentality. The idea that there is no good, there is no evil, there's only a difference of opinion. More specifically, heaven doesn't care about us any more or less than hell does. They're only looking for more bodies to join the cause. So they're looking for more recruits. So hey, if you died and you're going to go to hell, oh well, I guess you're on that side. And hell's like, yeah, we're going to torture this guy and then send him to the front lines. Heaven is like, oh, hey, somebody died and it's coming to us? Yeah, all right, dude, get up here. We're going to torture you, in our own way. And then we're going to send you down there. Everybody's a zealot. And it's so absurd, but it is what it is. So we get a really quick, brief little recap of Spawn just chilling. He's with his girl, he's remembering, and there's the ring. Now, the ring is actually important. You'll see that in the next issue, I think it was. Spawn is just sitting on his little throne. He's the ruler of the alley. He'd already turned down the rulership of Hell. He'd already defeated Malbosia. He could have taken over Hell, but he wasn't interested in that. He's not interested in the power. He just wants to go home. Of course, that can never really happen, though, can it? Because sales would dip really bad. So this poor guy's got to continue suffering. So he's going to summon all of the different bugs and the creeping, crawling things, and they try and get really biblical with this. Welcome to the bug house. It's kind of a silly thing to say, but is what it is. So Spawn decides to go and enter into the heaven side of the alley. All right, there's the evil side, there's the good side, so to speak, and the disciple. The disciple is the greatest champion of heaven. And Spawn goes over there, and he knows that once he goes over there, he's going to lose all of his powers. Why did he go? The voices in his head. There's always the voices in his head. We're going to find out what those voices actually are pretty soon. But the voices in his head keep on telling him, and he's just like, shut up. He can't get them to shut up. He's like, oh, fine, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. He's hoping that the chittering of the bugs and the maggots and all these things would stifle those noises. It didn't. It didn't help at all. So as Spawn explains later on, it sounds like there's just a million voices in there, and they're all speaking different languages and incoherently, and just some screaming over others, all of them just trying to be heard, and they're all confused, they're all lost. And the little bit of guidance that he's had, he hasn't been able to follow it. So he's going to listen to the voices at this point and go over to the heaven side. He's going to realize that you never listen to the voices in your head. So the disciple's like, listen, man, you're over here. You don't have any powers. You're weak. We could destroy you. You need to turn around and go back. Spawn is standing there, but at one point he's like, I find it interesting that if I'm so weak, heaven sent its absolute greatest champion to come down and fight me. Why is that? The disciple's trying to maintain his cool, but you know it's freaking just a little bit. He's like, dude, you need to turn around. It's your last chance. Spawn jumps this guy. The dialogue is great. I'm not going to get into the dialogue. You go read that comic book for this sake. But Spawn jumps straight at the disciple, and unfortunately the disciple just like mushes him and just rips him apart, rips off his face, tears off his head, rips him into shreds. The heart seems to be missing. That's interesting. Someone has stolen the heart and brings it off and hands it to this little boy named Christopher. Christopher's like, dude, what the frick? What is this? What's going on? He's in his own little spawn thing, the Spawn symbiote suit. So the Man of Miracles is the one who stole the suit. Excuse me, stole the heart and handed it to this little boy, Christopher. And it's just this little Caucasian boy. And just there's no understanding of who this kid is. Like, why is this kid in the Spawn suit? What's going on? This is, listen, I need you to go back home. I need you to go back to your mom. Do you remember what was said to you? Oh, yeah, I have to go home by 6 o'clock. My mom wants me home by 6 o'clock. Yeah, she needs you home by 6 o'clock. Don't be even 1 minute late, or she's going to be really worried about you, okay? No matter what happens, don't be distracted. You make sure you get home by 1 o'clock. Or, excuse me, by 6 o'clock. Time's not particularly important. Anyway, so at this point, we're going to see Spawn is reformed. All right, he's put back together. Mammon wants him put back together again, and he's going to be tortured at this point. But more on Christopher really quick. Sorry, the Christopher thing it's crucial. All right, to this whole entire story. Spawn is being tortured. That's enough. So, as far as this little kid, Billy is walking across this town. He's got to get back to his mom. And as he's walking across the town, he's trying to remember things. They're coming back to him. And then all of a sudden, here's this store that has all these action figures. And then as he's going into the store, he's like, it's only 10 minutes away. I can get there in time. But he gets there inside the store, and he's just like, oh, these action figures. I remember the owner. You know, wow. And here comes this clown. And no, he pulls off the face, and it's actually Billy Kincaid. Okay? And Billy's just like, hey, man, check it out. You know, I got all these action figures. Why don't you stick around for a little while? Look at what we got. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know. My mom wants me home. He's like, listen, man, I'm going to give you 7. Nah, wax that. I'm going to give you 10 free toys. Today only, so you got to do it now because we're about to close. You got to get these action figures now. So Billy's sitting there and he's paying attention, really good attention to these figures. It's funny, he's got a Malbosia toy and just the slightest touch and it just breaks. It's like, wow, these toys are supposed to like not break. That's the whole point of them. I think it's a commentary on the action figures that Todd McFarlane makes, but those are pretty solid for the most part. Anyway, so these guys are talking to each other. Meanwhile, we see Billy's mom. Billy's mom, you see, she is about to take a bath. She can't wait for Billy to come home. And this is really weird. As you're reading this is really weird. She's like, I can't wait for you any longer, Billy. I tried. I just can't. And she goes and she lays down in a hot bath and she reaches over and she grabs a knife and she's going to start poking at her wrist. She's going to cause herself to bleed to death in the bathtub. Dude, suicide, man. You're going to end up in that legion, with your son. So anyway, yeah, the kid's just like, dude, what the heck is going on? This is really weird, man. And, he's just really interested in these toys, but he doesn't understand what's happening. And all of a sudden, Billy is something worse at this point. Billy is something terrifying. It's like, I'm going to get you, kid. And the cloak, the suit just goes, roar, and goes after him and catches him. He's like, what is this? Ah! He's like, listen, man, I think this suit's going to hurt you if you don't leave me alone. You got to promise to leave me alone. He's like, fine, kid, I don't like you anyway. Just get out of my store. Go away. So the kid's going to leave and start trying to make his way back to his mom. Billy goes and shouts out, you might want to look at yourself in the mirror, by the way, kid. You're not looking so hot. Christopher is looking really ugly. He's starting to kind of spawn out a little bit really quickly. Okay. So we're going to get into this other story here. The Spawn is being tortured in hell. All right, he's been put back together at the command of Lord Memnon. I always want to say Memnon, but the command of Lord Memnon. And he's got his chief inquisitor here, Thammuz. And Thammuz is just like, dude, I'm whooping some booty here. All right, and he right away goes and tears out his stomach. Spawn's stomach, and he's just torturing him. He's like, tell me who you really are. Give me your deepest, darkest secrets. Why are you so powerful? Why is everyone so afraid of you? But Spawn is like, dude, man, I don't even know what to tell you, man. It's just me. It's just Spawn in here. I don't even have my previous self in here. It's just me. It's just the evil Spawn. I'm just a Spawn. It's like, no, that's not the case at all. Simmons is in there. Simmons is in there somewhere. So, Al Simmons. Better than Richard Simmons or maybe even Gene Simmons. But, yeah, Al Simmons. All right, so suddenly every single bad guy, for the most part, that Spawn has ever put back in hell and destroyed pretty much eternally is there before him. And Spawn's just like, oh, this is going to suck. So everybody wants a piece of him. Well, we're going to find out this isn't really them. It's not really that big of a deal, but it's not really them. It's just kind of them. Issue 151 at this point, right? Is that what I'm looking at? Yep, issue 151. Just really quick, Greg Capullo cover. My God, this is beautiful. Okay, moving on. So we're seeing that in this torture, suddenly in where his heart is supposed to be, where Spawn's heart is supposed to be, but there's no heart there. Remember, it's missing. There's a ring in there. And yeah, it's his wedding ring to Wanda. Yeah. So that's what's actually in his heart. You got to remember his origin story, man. So he refuses to give up on anything. Christopher, in the meantime, he's walking and he sees this comic book, Tales of the Hellspawn. It's like, dude, what is this? And all of a sudden he realizes it's his story. So he starts looking through and he realizes that his mom told him to go to his grandmother's house, hurry up and make sure you're home by 6. His mom was always worried for him. So, it is what it is. Anyway, this jerk kid, what's his name? Wyatt Burke. He goes and writes in chalk, I guess, on this big water tower, Christopher Wayland is a chicken. Because he knows that Christopher would never climb up that stupid little water tower. It's like a sewage tower, whatever the heck it is. It's filthy. It's freaking filthy in there. So even though he's got a bum leg, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go and do this. So even though there's nobody there to see him, he climbs all the way up this thing, as much pain as he's in. He's exhausted. And for some reason, the tank is open, and he slips and falls in. And he's like, it's because I'm an idiot. Yeah, you kind of are, kid. Anyway, it's after 6. His mom's like, where is he? Calls up, grandma, calls up her mom. Is like, hey, did he leave yet? What do you mean he never got there? Crap! So she runs, and by the water tower, she sees that thing. She runs up to the water tower. She sees the bag. She climbs up. She's like, no, not Christopher, not Chrissy. That's what she calls him. She climbs up, and she sees, like, listen, can you hold on until I get down there and get help? He's like, Mommy, I'm about to fall asleep. I've been treading water for too long. So she jumps down there. She says, don't worry, it's going to be okay. My feet are touching the ground. You see that her feet are not touching the ground. They're just a bit shy, like even with her toes down. So she's stuck treading water and bobbing a lot and holding them up. She can't keep her own head above water without swimming. So she gets tired really quick too. They both wind up just falling asleep from sheer exhaustion. Nobody's going to hear them. Nobody's coming anytime soon. So, sure enough, they both wind up, or at least Christopher winds up dying. She can't get to him in time. It's like trapped. And be it the Man of Miracles or something else is down there. She's not entirely sure what it is, but she says, I need your son. You're some hot naked chick down there. So the woman's going to see what she wants to see. This is what the Man of Miracles later explains. But the woman says, listen, I have need of your son. I promise you I'll return him to you. Just will you let me have him? You know what I'm saying? So that I can return him to you. She's like, yes. So according to the Man of Miracles, if Billy doesn't get back to his mom, and he doesn't put this on Billy, because that's Billy Kincaid. Forget that evil guy. He's gone now. Well, almost. He's almost gone now. What's his name? The kid Christopher. Man of Miracle doesn't put that on Christopher because he's just a kid. It's way too much for a kid. But what he does do is he explains, listen, if you don't get back to your home, your mom's just going to be really worried for you. She's going to commit suicide is what's actually going to happen. Again, he doesn't put this on her. And apparently this is going to change the outcome of the world. All right, this is going to be a terrible, horrible thing. So Billy does get back there, but he's all eaten up. But she doesn't see that. She sees what she wants to see. The Man of Miracles walks up and she doesn't see the man. She sees the woman and said, okay, I did what I promised, but I need him back now. And the mom's just like, it's okay. I know he's okay. So go ahead. You can take him back. And she's okay and she'll live on now. That's a sad, beautiful story, I love how gorgeous this story is. So Billy goes away and he's going to go on a different mission now. He has to, the man of missions, basically that's what he is. The Man of Miracles is going to send him on a mission to go down and basically touch Spawn. He's got to go down to the pit in hell and he's got to touch Spawn. Don't let anything get in your way. So he's going to do exactly that. So now Sam and Twitch have actually been summoned. All right. The way they've been summoned is that when Christopher was in Billy Kincaid's store, his store, he wound up, or the suit wound up accidentally grabbing onto whatever, just somehow grabbed onto Twitch and Sam's story. If you're not familiar with these characters, go and look them up. They're fairly minor characters, but they know who Spawn is, and they get into a lot of escapades with him, and they get into a much more now under Hine. So issue 153 at this point, they're seeing all these crazy things happen in the world. The Mississippi, the entirety of the Mississippi is now made out of human blood, type AB. So it's like, dude, what the frick is going on? This is like, scientists are checking it. It's actual human blood. All sorts of crazy things are happening in the world. Wanda's kids are, the twins at least, they're demon-possessed, apparently. Able to stab each other in the head with scissors and just be like, oh, I'm going to get you for that. What kind of nonsense is this? There are frogs falling from the sky. They've got teeth and bellies with teethy, sharp-toothy, pointy-teeth mouths in the bellies. And it's like, this is not normal, man. This kind of stuff does not normally happen. Nonetheless, Billy has to go through... Billy. Billy's going to be in this amusement park. But in the meantime, Christopher is sent to go to the pit. He's got to get through the amusement park to get to the pit. Billy Kincaid is there, finally, the correct one. And he's like, listen, I'll let you in, but, you know, I want you to do this and this and this first. He's like, I'm not doing any of these things. I don't want to. So he's like, okay, so where are you going? He's like, the pit. He's like, oh, the pit? Oh, forget all this silly ice cream stuff I'm trying to give you with, you know, malicious diseases and viruses. No. You can come over to the pit. But first, you got to look at the show that I'm going to do. You know, that's a requirement. You can't go down into the pit until you watch the show. Kid's like, okay. Billy Kincaid does his typical thing, and he grabs a whole bunch of kids, and he does really violent, terrible things to them. This is a really graphic book, dude. This part isn't shown in excess, but it's so bad that by the time that that Sam and Twitch get to Christopher's eyes have burnt out of their sockets. Yeah, that bad. So he's blind. At this point, he sees other things, but he's physically blind. It's like a Matrix Part 3 kind of thing. That was a sad part of the story. You know it was. I don't care if you liked or hated that movie. That was a really sad part of that movie. That being the case, they go down into the pit, and they're pretty much unobstructed when they go walking up, and little Christopher goes up and touches... Oh, by the way, the suit completely kills, like apparently permanently, Billy Kincaid. So, you're done. The kid Christopher goes up and is able to touch Spawn, and all of a sudden Spawn remembers something. He remembers that he is in fact Legion, and that all these voices are other souls that are damned inside of him. Oh, that's new. So he's able to release these souls and destroy all of these fake lesser demons that are around him. Mamanon is acting like, oh, this doesn't bother me. This kind of stuff happens all the time. But he's terrified. He's genuinely terrified. There's no doubt about it. It's explained he's terrified. Friggin' A. Anyway, Spawn is able to escape, and he moves on about his own way. At this point, the situation on Earth is getting even worse because, hey, guess what? The dead are coming back to life all over the place. And gods and goddesses are appearing. The worst nightmares and dreams imaginable are appearing here, and it's kind of messed up. It's kind of messed up. So, anyway, as the nightmares are getting worse, we start to see something of the story of two of these many souls inside of Spawn, Kumiko and Hiroshi. Hiroshi is the grandfather of Kumiko. Kumiko was just this little girl who used to play video games all the time. And all of a sudden, while walking down in this dark tunnel, a light opens up and they appear. You see, Al Simmons, Spawn, he decides, you know what? If I'm going to handle all these crazy things on Earth, I need to be in more than one place at one time. So he starts releasing a couple of these souls with the help of Christopher, in order to deal with smaller local problems. So Christopher says this girl, Kumiko, and her grandfather, of course, will be able to help out. Kumiko used to play all these video games, so when she shows up, she's got these guns, she's got the Hellspawn thing, and he's like, listen, I don't have time to explain jack to you. Do you think that you can handle killing all those zombies down there? She's like, zombies? This is just like such and such game. Heck yeah! She jumps right down. Hiroshi's like, he's old school, and he's actually a warrior. She's not. So he doesn't jump down. He's like, if I jump down, then I'm going to get myself jacked up. So So he climbs down a ladder to go and help his granddaughter, who he's sworn to always protect. Didn't always work. Yakuza involved. Enough said. This is issue number 154, by the way. And they go off and they start trying to kill some zombies. She's doing a much better job than him because he's just not getting it. She understands it to a degree because she's got the childlike mind. She's like, you got to go for the head. They're zombies, Grandpa. So then he starts doing a better job with his sword, and she's there with her guns. Then all of a sudden she gets a glimpse of what she looks like, and she completely freaks out and realizes we're dead also. Gets a glimpse of what her grandfather looks like. Everything's just like, oh my God. But he's able to keep his head, and he's able to save her as he expected he was going to be able to. But they're not doing so well as far as actually reconciling with what they are now. Spawn still has to explain this stuff to them. And that's going to be one heck of a story. We'll get there. We won't. You will when you read the stuff on your own. Because Spawn has to go to India because Gali, this is what happens when you try and say stuff too fast. Kali, the queen of the goddess of destruction, all right? Realistically, the life, death, rebirth, recycle sort of story, she has suddenly appeared. Now, what's cool is that Spawn can't destroy this goddess. She's way too powerful. But with a little bit of conventional wisdom by the locals who actually dreamed her into existence, yeah, that's weird, isn't it? They're able to guide Spawn so that he can actually be smart and not just powerful. And those are always the best stories for me. Seeing Spawn do more than just kick a bunch of booty, you know what I'm saying? That's one thing, but actually knowing how to use his powers, knowing when to not have to use his powers. These are the really important stories for me. These are the personal growth stories. It's one thing to see somebody just boom, blow everybody away. For me, though, I enjoy seeing character development, and this is some of the best character development that I've seen. And him having to talk to these souls, all these different souls that he's pulling out to fight in these different battles. They're gorgeous, amazing stories. I love these. Also, this is going to be the first appearance of Zera, the Queen of the Seraphim. So, these are the original stories. Now, if these stories seem confusing to you, you have to understand what these stories actually were, okay, is David Hine is taking everything that happened in issue 1 through 149, and yes, he has read them all, according to him, 3 times, okay? He's read them. He knows them exhaustively. And now he's going to use these 6 issues or so, these 5 issues I just read, and the next one, as a sort of a bridge into what's going to become, my opinion, and several other people's opinions, the best Spawn stories ever. Where Spawn doesn't care about heaven or hell, except taking them both on. These are the stories that wound up giving birth to all sorts of different animated features. I doubt that the movie, the next movie that's coming out is going to feature this. It's probably just going to be a complete and total reboot, which probably wouldn't be okay if I would have felt that maybe eventually Todd McFarlane would get around to saying, hey, Mr. Hine, why don't you come on over and help me out doing your story in the form of a movie, because I think that would be absolutely amazing. But I just don't think it's going to happen, and that's a shame. But we still have the comics. Now, unfortunately, to date, I don't believe that any of these have actually been put to graphic novel form, I should say, to trade paperback form. And, it's telling of what Mr. McFarlane thinks about these stories, but it is what it is, man. You can still find the individual issues, though, and dude, they're not too expensive, believe it or not. We're only talking about 100 issues or so ago, you know, and less in some regards. They're very doable. You can find a couple of these in the dollar bin boxes. I'm just saying, you're not going to find these for too exhaustively much an amount of money, but forewarning, that movie, more and more people are talking about this movie being started. Once that movie is announced as, boom, we got the first trailer coming up soon, expect the prices of all of these comic books to skyrocket. So, now's a good time. And listen, the story I just read is indeed this bridge, all right? Once you get over this bridge, starting with issue 155 or so, and moving on, 156 up to, I think it's 186, these are breathtaking stories that are so inspiring, so, wow, they're outstanding. And I don't think that there's any way that you cannot fall in love with these. You know, put me to the test. Put me to the test. Anyway, I've really just given as much a boost as I can to these stories, but I would highly recommend reading these stories. Yes, including the ones that I just got finished reading to you. It's important. All right, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.